And we start with some breaking news for you tonight. President Trump on Truth Social saying that Israel has agreed to a 60-day ceasefire with Hamas. He says Qatar and Egypt, who helped finalize the deal, will deliver the final proposal. President Trump also warning, quote, "I hope for the good of the Middle East that Hamas takes this deal because it won't get any better. It will only get worse." The announcement comes just ahead of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's planned visit to Washington next Monday. That will be his third trip to the United States this year. In the Senate, passing the One Big Beautiful Bill after a record-long debate. Now it's the House's turn to consider the Senate's amendments. Our Washington correspondent, Luis Martinez, has the latest on the reconciliation process.
The Senate being evenly divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed.
After 27 hours of debate and a record 45 considered amendments, the Senate passed the One Big Beautiful Bill, with Vice President J.D. Vance being the tie-breaking vote after 3 Republican senators opposed the bill. That's Senator Tom Tillis, Senator Rand Paul, and Senator Susan Collins.
In 2022, the most recent year data is available. Nearly 6,000 millionaires were paid almost $58 million in jobless benefits.
Medicaid cuts were at the center of some of the most difficult debates in the Senate. Some amendments, like the one barring people making over $1 million a year from receiving Medicaid benefits, passed without Democratic opposition.
This bill would require those who administer Medicaid to check the federal government's dead people list before they pay the Medicaid payment out. Duh.
Why would anybody vote against this? Duh.
Other clauses of the bill, like the one seeking to ban illegal immigrants from receiving Medicaid benefits, were struck out by the Senate parliamentarian and then shut down by Democrats in subsequent votes that required 2/3 majority.
But for every dollar they put in toward a single childless adult who should be working, we kick in 9. That has led to all kinds of abuse. That's what we're trying to address. We're not trying to take Medicaid away from disabled children. We're trying to stop that scam that states and providers have been using to draw down hundreds of billions of dollars from the federal government that we can't afford.
Now the bill heads to the House, where at least 2 House Republicans already opposed the bill. That's Congressman Thomas Massey, who is against the raising of the debt ceiling, and Congressman Don Bacon, who believes that Medicaid cuts go too far.
But the House version, I thought, was clean. I could defend it every day. Work requirements are very popular. Taking off ineligible or illegal people off the Medicaid rolls. People like that. It's a $500 billion savings. But the Senate has added more fees that will lower the money that goes to the states.
The House Rules Committee began consideration of the bill this Tuesday. If the House modifies the Senate-passed version of the bill, it would need to go back to the Senate and almost assure that Republicans will miss the self-imposed deadline of July 4th. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
And one thing that didn't make it into the bill, a 10-year ban on states regulating artificial intelligence. 99 senators voting to drop the proposal. Senator Marsha Blackburn said it is frustrating that Congress hasn't been able to establish any rules on artificial intelligence while states have. President Trump applauds the tax bill's passage as he tours a detention center newly built in Florida known as Alligator Alcatraz. He also suggests he could have DOGE examine Elon Musk's government contracts. NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao has more.
Oh, thank you. Wow.
And President Trump hailing the passage of the Big Beautiful Bill in the Senate as his legislative priorities, including extending tax cuts and boosting border funding, now gets one step closer to becoming law. He pushes back on criticism of the bill's Medicaid cuts, insisting it's only targeting waste and fraud, not the benefits of hardworking Americans.
3 things. Social Security, we're going to take care of it beautifully. Medicare and Medicaid, and we are going to save it.
Despite the latest progress, the bill is encountering a fresh wave of criticism from Elon Musk. Musk now warning that he would boost midterm primary challenges to defeat Republican lawmakers who voted for the bill. Trump responds by threatening to have the Department of Government Efficiency, which Musk used to lead, to now look into Musk's government contracts.
So I think what's going to happen is DOGE is going to look at Musk
And if Doge looks at Musk, we're going to save a fortune. Thank you very much, everybody. I don't think you should be playing that game with me.
As part of his push for immigration enforcement, Trump on Tuesday toured a makeshift detention center in Florida dubbed Alligator Alcatraz with Governor Ron DeSantis, which he says
You'll always be my friend, and we may have some skirmishes even in the future. We'll always come back.
Trump says the facility, which can hold up to 5,000 beds, will house some of the most vicious illegal immigrants.
It's known as Alligator Alcatraz, which is very appropriate because I looked outside and that's not a place I want to go hiking anytime soon. But very soon this facility will house some of the most menacing migrants, some of the most vicious people on the planet. We're surrounded by miles of treacherous swampland, and the only way out is really deportation.
But he also floats the idea of deporting Americans who commit heinous crimes.
Some people that knife you when you're walking down the street, they're not new to our country. They're old to our country. Many of them were born in our country. I think we ought to get them the hell out of here, too. You want to know the truth.
On the other hand, Trump says he will decide in the coming weeks on deportation exemptions for workers in the agriculture and construction industries. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
And now that the Senate has approved the big, beautiful bill, what might we expect as it moves back over to the House of Representatives? Joining us live to break it down is Democratic strategist Hima Moore and President winning Republican strategies, Aaron Evans. It's great to have you both. Hima, do you think the bill can pass the House before President Trump's deadline of July 4th with the latest revisions?
Look, Steve, good to see you. Crazier things have happened over the past 6 months, so it's quite possible. I think most people, even in Congress, don't believe that they're going to meet this self-imposed deadline of July 4th. I mean, this bill is very different than what the House sent over to the Senate. And I think what's going to happen over the next few days, a few hours, members of the House of Representatives are hearing from their constituents, and they know that this bill will take away health care, take away key things that people in their district rely on. And so I'm not sure that they're going to be able to get, Mike Johnson's going to be able to get the number over the threshold before July 4th.
Now, Senate Republicans did approve cutting $1 trillion from Medicaid, more than what the House had proposed. How do you see these moderate Republicans reacting? Could this cost the bill Republican support in the House, Aaron?
Look, I think there's going to be some healthy debate, and each congressman is going to do what they feel is right for their district. I think that at the end of the day, they'll unite and get the bill right and get it across the finish line. Whether it's July 4th or July 6th, I think the biggest priority is making sure that they get it right and move it across the line.
Now, Elon Musk vowing to primary any Republican who voted for the Trump's big, beautiful bill, who initially was against spending cuts, is how he put it, or more spending. How might this impact House Republicans, particularly those facing re-election?
Yeah, look, Steve, I think this could be very impactful for how 2026 ends up shaping up. I mean, this is a ridiculous fight that the president and one of the richest people in the world is having right before our eyes. I do think Elon Musk is right. This bill is going to damage, do a lot of damage to the Republican Party, a lot of damage to the American people. And there are no winners here except the top 1%. Even though Elon Musk is one of those, he recognizes that this bill will add more to the deficit, and it's not good. And so if you were a Republican that voted yes, I would be afraid that Elon Musk is going to spend millions of dollars. Look, he put $40 million in Wisconsin and he still lost. And so I think Elon Musk is okay with putting money behind these elections. I think it's really weird. I don't agree that he should do that. And I think, like Aaron said, I think Republicans should vote their conscience. They should vote what their constituents want them to vote for. They want lower costs. They want better health care. They want more security. And this bill does not do that.
Aaron, President Trump suggested Doge review federal subsidies for Elon Musk's companies, claiming they rely heavily on government funding and that there may be a lot to find in there that's not being spent wisely. Do you think the president means what he says in this threat?
I think there's a lot of barbs going back and forth between Elon and the president right now. And ultimately, and we've seen this play out a little bit over the last few weeks. And first of all, look, if there are, ultimately, I don't think anyone should be above scrutiny. And so, if there are contracts involving Elon that would receive the same scrutiny that he provided to others when he was over Doge. I think they should certainly be reviewed. But ultimately, look, I think that just to speak to the whole Elon Trump fight, only one of them was elected by the majority of Americans, and that was President Trump. America supports his agenda to put America first and get our finances back in order. And I think that at the end of the day, the debate is how we do that. But no one would deny the fact that we're approaching a fiscal cliff as a country, and we've got to get our finances in order. We've got to improve the economy. We've got to secure the border. We've got to reduce crime. The things that President Trump is focusing on in this bill that are good for the American people and that the American people elected him to do. Elon was never elected. So I do think that we're going to see the party, I don't see massive changes in the party because of Elon's threats. Ultimately, the party does stand behind the president.
Today, President Trump also visiting Florida to tour what he's calling Alligator Alcatraz. This is a new illegal migrant detention center in the Everglades. Here's a clip from the president earlier.
Very soon, this facility will house some of the most menacing migrants, some of the most vicious people on the planet. We're surrounded by miles of treacherous swampland, and the only way out is really deportation. And a lot of these people are self-deporting back to their country where they came from. Quite a few. We're amazed at actually the number.
Aaron, what do you make of this self-deportation strategy? Do you think these folks who entered the country illegally are going to take up the government on being sent back with the possibility to come back in the future?
I mean, we're definitely seeing it happen, and I think that it's the right approach. It treats people with respect. It acknowledges, look, there's been laws that's been broken. We're giving you the opportunity to have dignity and respect to turn yourself in and self-deport, and then have the opportunity to come back in the right way, versus those who try to avert the law and then obviously have to be deported, by the law. And so, giving people that option is it's a gracious move, and I think that it offers that opportunity for them to exit and re-enter the right way.
Now, Hima, a mobile app was launched in April, letting users alert people to ICE agents that are in their area carrying out operations or just being spotted. Do you think that this may be going too far and putting these agents at risk?
Look, I think what the president's doing is putting these agents at risk. What we need is comprehensive immigration reform. We need a conversation about immigration from not just those who have entered this country illegally, but what is a process by which people who want to come to this country can come. And so I'm not agreeing with this app. I think, the activists are going to do what they want to do, and they're going to be a group of people that are going to do those type of things. What I'm concerned about is there's no dignity in separating families. There's no dignity in sending people to what they're calling Alligator Alcatraz. Like, that is a ridiculous thing to say when we're having this conversation about sending people to an island surrounded by alligators. I think what we've got to figure out is, now that people have come to this country, now that they're here illegally, what's the best, most thoughtful process to get them into this country illegally if they earned it, or if they are good citizens, or if there was one man who just died in the detention center. He's 75 years old, had been here for 45 years. There's no dignity in that. And so I don't think the president is right in this approach at all. And so all the things that are happening on the side, all these ancillary people and activists sort of coming up, this is because the president's decision to take advantage of this opportunity for politics, not for the health of this country, not for the sake of bringing more people into the fold of our American culture. This is all about politics, and this is not right.
Now, my understanding is this Alligator Alcatraz facility is meant for some of the illegal immigrants who have committed crimes, some of the more dangerous ones, not necessarily the families that have been separated or whatnot. The Trump administration also did file a lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles on Monday, arguing that its sanctuary policies are limiting cooperation with federal immigration authorities that clash with federal law. Aaron, Los Angeles has maintained the sanctuary status for years. How does this lawsuit strengthen the Trump administration's stance?
Yeah, look, I think it's an important lawsuit, and ultimately, I think it's important to step back and put this in perspective on both sides of the aisle. laws are laws for a reason. And if we have cities that can totally avert an entire set of laws, if we had a city that just said we're going to ignore every single gun law, every federal gun law in the country, and anyone that commits any gun crime, no one can touch them, Democrats would be livid. They'd be having a fit, and rightfully so. And on the flip side, we have cities who are saying, look, it doesn't matter what federal laws exist. It doesn't matter what crimes people have committed and how they got here. We're going to defy federal law. We're going to not only not assist, but work against federal law enforcement efforts to secure our country. And it's a horrible situation that we're in. And I think that, this is something that should have bipartisan, solutions that we're trying to work toward, and both parties agreeing that we can't have entire cities that do not follow major portions of the law that's been enacted by Congress. And but unfortunately, that's not the case. So I think when that is failing, that's where lawsuits come in, and I think they're taking the right steps.
We do have to leave it there. We're out of time for now. Hima Moore, Aaron Evans, appreciate you both coming on.